Oh, ready? Yeah, we can get going. YouTube, hello. Hello, YouTube. All right. We're here. We're live. Fantastic. Good afternoon. Welcome to Smudcast number 576. The appeal of shonen anime / manga. This is like asking, why do kids like kid stuff? But I guess Mr. DBZimran is going to give us the lowdown. Maybe he'll give us examples and some storylines from certain animes and mangas saying why it appeals to kids. That's always nice to know. But maybe there's some information we don't get that we've watched, because I've watched shonen anime, manga. I still read some, so I'm not completely alien to what young adult men or young men like. Young boys. It's a 13 and up, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's anything from cutesy stuff to action stuff to coming of age stuff with lots of attractive, cute girls and cool fight scenes and lots of, I would say, power fantasies here and there, clever ways of resolving stories, climaxes that are neat.
And it doesn't always need all of it.
No.
If you go back a few decades, you may remember the sports anime Kickers, which is more slice of life, down to earth soccer, I think, that from what I remember. And almost in parallel ran Captain Tsubasa and Captain Tsubasa. A little bit of a different anime, and the slice of life sports thing turned into shonen, in the sense of like it's soccer but also Dragon Ball.
That's right. Yeah, they do a lot of exaggerations with how they pass the ball, kick the ball, dodge, dribble.
And then it takes 4 episodes for the kick to the goal, with a flashback, and then you get the same thing from the perspective of the goalie, of the gatekeeper.
Yeah. This is all.
And he's going through the whole, oh my god, thoughts, flashbacks, a super jump to get the ball, and it takes 4 episodes. It's Dragon Ball.
King of tennis, basketball, swimming, soccer for sure. Like, there's just so many sports anime, even bowling. So
that was Excel Saga had a bowling episode.
Oh well, that's Excel Saga is a bit it's not, doesn't really follow any rules. It just sort of does what it wants.
It was the episode where Excel Saga wanted to find out whether it's a sports anime.
Yeah, I know.
That's great. Watch Excel Saga.
Okay.
You will know everything about anime once you have watched
and then you will never watch anime ever again.
Because you've seen everything.
Because it's so crazy. I was like, my brain can't handle half of this episode. I'm going to stop now.
You will have seen everything. You will have seen every trope, and you're done. You can do something productive.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Grow tomatoes.
I'm not sure ever recommending Excel Saga is a good idea for learning about shonen.
It's not good. It's not a good your first anime experience. Probably.
No.
It's not something to introduce people to anime with. I always recommend Grave of the Fireflies for that.
Well, that's a bit serious, yeah.
Yeah, serious? Movie. It's a movie.
No, serious. Not series.
Yeah, it's a serious movie. That's not a serious. Because that Grave of the Fireflies breaks every preconceived idea of anime being just for children and bullshit.
Yeah, I think starting with shonen is like, okay, I get it. It's cartoons for kids. And then you go, well, that's one element. Then there's all these other things. Because when we got anime in the 80s and 90s, it was like, oh, you're watching a movie. You're watching a movie for adults, but it happens to be animated. And Ghost in the Shell and Akira and stuff like that. So it was, oh, wow, I love animation. I love all this crazy adult stuff. And you're only a kid. So you had to, rent it under the your coat when you're bringing back the rental VHSs. Like, oh yeah, we got Back to the Future. We're gonna watch an old film. It's like, and some anime no one knew about. So
for example, Cat's Eye was relatively serious, but here they just put it in the middle of all the other cartoons because the TV networks all just put, it's drawn, so it's for children, so it's all the same. And if you go from Animaniacs to Cat's Eye to Freakazoid, it's a bit of a break.
Little different.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see how long we got here. This is a 22-minute video. It came out 3 years ago. Has about 17,000, 18,000 views. For a channel that has 144 subs, that's a bit odd, but that's okay.
Oh, it's a small channel?
Well, 144,000 is pretty big.
I missed a K.
Yeah, so for only to have 17,000, I guess he does other popular videos. I don't know. I just saw his video list. He's currently doing the Bleach stuff. So Bleach recently came out again, or they're doing a continuation of Bleach. I don't know. Bleach sort of died out a long time ago. Got very boring, redundant.
But it died out?
Oh yeah,
Bleach died out.
Was
that an intentional pun?
In terms of creativity, it died. So maybe the guy got a second wind. I don't know. It's not my bag. I'm sure some people loved it. This was when like Naruto was popular. There's all these fanboys going, just watch Bleach, it's better. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. And I was like, yeah, it's fine, but didn't really do much.
I haven't.
Not for everyone. This is the thing. Shonen anime, there's certain animes which are for kids, which are great. And there's certain animes for kids which people just don't like for whatever reason. And for me, I just didn't get into Bleach. It's very Japanese. Like was it Demon Hunters or Devil Hunt? I can't remember the name of it. It's very like the most popular manga last year. Yeah.
Great. You scrambled it by saying it wrong.
I know.
Damn it. Yes.
That one. Yeah, okay. It's like, it's so Japanese. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's very well animated. The characters are fine. Just not my bag. That's totally fine. That's cool.
Oh, that thing I liked until they brought in the Power Rangers. Then it was like, oh, now the shonen stuff begins.
Right. Yeah. Then they have the cute girls, and it's like, oh, you're shy around them, and oh, here we go.
So, no, not that. I mean, I meant when he gets to the compound of the super good guy.
The super good guy.
and then he meets the Power Rangers, every one of a different color with some stupid special ability and a really stupid costume, color coded.
Yeah. That's the thing. You see these designs.
That's it. Why?
Yeah, this is.
It's okay if demons do shit. Why?
This happens in not only manga and anime, but also video games from Japan, and they'll get this famous, well-known artist from some manga. And he'll make the character design. He's like, oh, no.
And yes, Joe Crazy Demon Slayer, thank you.
Thank you.
And Noah Cheese did it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah, but what I mean is the character design is fine. The world is fine. Really like it. Until that point where the green guy, the pink girl, the blue guy, it's like really silly costumes. And like, why? It looked serious and down to earth with this sort of fantasy level, and then it goes full blown Sentai bullshit. Yeah, and I had a similar issue, not the same, but a similar issue with Mare. I read the manga back in the day when it came out. I'm old now, damn it. And later on, I heard they made an anime. I haven't watched it. Because I lost interest in the manga the moment it went into it went from the adventure phase to we basically have a tournament between characters fighting, and they have all these different levels. Like we have pawns and rooks and all this shit, and like, why is this boring? Okay, they're fighting. Okay, it's nicely drawn, but I can we go back to the adventure?
Yeah, this is what ends up happening when you have an overly hyperactive mind, and you're a creator of either manga, anime, even video games does this when you have the budget for it. But I always joke about Hideo Kojima doing too much, and you see that even the Sentai crap is in MGS 3 and 4 for no reason. He just decided to have poses and people, saying stupid shit and jumping off ladders and backflipping. It's like, okay, this is...
I, if you do it as a background joke, okay. But in Demon Slayer, it becomes like a relevant plot point, and it's not like the background joke. In Dragon Ball Z, it was a background joke with Frieza's henchmen basically doing the Sentai thing.
Yeah.
But in general, I liked the original Dragon Ball, where Son Goku is a kid, much more than I like Dragon Ball Z, because it was just a wacky adventure.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and the fights that happened in the original Dragon Ball, they usually had to be solved in some creative fashion. Like the fight against the Invisible Man. Everyone was out of his league, and including Son Goku. And how did it get solved? Well, somehow, I think Oolong was it. Oolong pulled up Bulma's top, so she flashed Master Roshi, who got a nosebleed, and the nose blood landed on the Invisible Man, so now Son Goku could see the Invisible Man and beat him. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and he had a flying Nimbus. He had a extendable rod. Like, it was like, oh, he's a cute kid with some powers, and he could run around. He wasn't super duper powerful, but he was still pretty strong. And it was a struggle. I always liked that little kid running around trying to be an adult, and just being a kid. He's innocent. He's still, as a grown up, he's pretty dumb as well. But as a kid, he's innocent. You could forgive his stupidity, and he's trying to do this ridiculous quest to make wishes come true.
Yeah, and while he's being relatively super strong, he had this immense weak point with his tail. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Loved it. Fuck off.
So anyway,
Chad, fuck off.
Anyway, so anyway, what we're trying to say is that it's obvious what kids like, or young adults that are male, and it depends on particular storylines and certain elements of those characters that have a plot that resonates with you, whether it's power fantasy, whether it's just a kid in school, whether it's your typical romance story, or elements thereof. It's usually a combination of these things. That's why we see rom-coms in manga, and it's not just a rom-com. They have like 3 dozen tropes that you've seen before. You just didn't think about them. They were always there. And it's become such a joke in manga where, the girl is running to school and she's got the toast in her mouth and she's going to round the corner and she's going to bump into the main hero. And she's maybe her skirt,
just like Raccoon.
Maybe her skirt will flip and she'll be embarrassed and he'll smack him around. And
just like Raccoon.
Yeah, I mean, isekai has even more tropes, but it's so, and it's just like it's being the transfer student, and he's foreign, and he's hot, and he's at the back of the class, and right next to that girl he bumped into about 10 minutes before. It's like, oh wow, who saw that come? Like, all these ridiculous setups that we've heard dozens of times. So anyway, let's get on with the video.
This video discusses the appeal of shonen storytelling, in the hopes that you may also resonate with some of the core messages and beliefs which I have taken away from these series.
Okay.
However, to help to convey the appeal of shonen anime and manga, I will be spoiling details relating to several series. So please do bear that in mind before proceeding.
Snowflake was hitting
with the
me
warning
in the
out
face.
of the way, this is the appeal of shonen anime and manga.
Yay! Intro. Why are you distorting the... Don't do that to those precious words.
The content we watch during our formative years has an incredible influence on the way that we develop and the thoughts and beliefs that we form during our adolescence. The extent of this influence may follow us well into our adult life through watching similar types of media.
Honestly, watching Dragon Ball Z got exhausting because I mainly just kept watching out of what's the best word, habit, because it effectively ran like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Ending with an almost irrelevant cliffhanger every episode, and since we got the double cut version, because the American version is cut already, and then our censors cut from the American cut even more. The content of our episodes was about 10 minutes, and then of course you got intro and outro and 5 to 10 minutes flashback from what happened in the last episode, and then you get 5 to 10 minutes foretelling of what happens in the next episode. And you have 10 minutes of content wrapped around other crap with advertisements in the middle. It was horrible to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's like the
voice acting was good, though.
Even Sailor Moon at the time was the same formula. It just had a different level of content of a bunch of girls with superpowers running around and being goofs or being smart or being strong or whatever. So
even then, as a kid, I got the feeling, because Dragon Ball Z was so extreme in that, and maybe this supercut format added to that, made me think that anime like this is soap opera for boys.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a drama. There's definitely the struggle to get stronger, to fight the bad guy. You have to train. You have to keep trying, don't die, and have your friends help you out. And a lot of shonen manga is about the power of friendship and family and why are you doing what you're doing, which comes down to, I want to help people. I want to be strong to help the people I care about. So that's pretty much it as a theme, as a major theme for all of these stories. And you see that in Bleach, you see that in Sailor Moon, you see it in all of them. So just the content, how do you like that delivered? Do you like it delivered with fight scenes, with fists, or with guns and Gundam, or big giant mechs in Gundam as well, with political undertones? There's all kinds of ways to have that theme presented.
Or do you like it? Do you like it with smashing ghost stones onto a board?
Sure.
Because that's the same. It's the same structure.
Or summoning monsters to fight each other in various different ways. There's always a struggle or a fight scene of some kind.
Yeah, and Kyogo's Hideout, I thought about watching the original Japanese cut of Z, but I heard Goku's original voice, and it's something different.
Compared to the English one? Did you watch the English or the German?
No, I watched the German.
Yeah.
The German dub was actually good.
The English voice makes Goku sound like a moron.
It was still the time when German dubs were really good, and it was through Dragon Ball Z that it went to shit.
Oh.
Because Dragon Ball Z exploded as it did, suddenly the German TV stations were on, we need to get more anime, and then they were going the cheapest way of doing dubs. And German dub culture was basically an art form in itself, not the way that you have it with the seiyuu in Japan, but we had some well-known voice actors like David Nathan, who is the voice for Johnny Depp in Germany.
Cool.
And he pulls it off brilliantly. You barely notice a difference. Like he is as if Johnny Depp was speaking German. Same voice.
All right, here is. Oh, jeez. I'm not going to say the N-word, but N-word to Shippuden. Thank you for the donation. Naruto isn't about friendship. Oh, It's about how awesome military dictatorships are and how using child soldiers with the power of gods in war is absolutely justified. And about how
wasn't that Full Metal Alchemist?
Yeah, I guess you're right. And about how flat women do not deserve human rights. Oh my God, what?
I fully agree.
What the hell? Aren't ninjas able to morph their bodies into anything?
No, that is an unsolvable physical disability.
Okay.
It's like look, it's as if Ed wanted to revive his mother. It's that level of impossible.
Okay, so in the ninja world, it's only an illusion. It's not real.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. There's probably a whole culture of people who like the fake stuff. There's a Puritans. Oh no, it can't be ninjutsu. It has to be pure booty.
Look at Tsunade. Like, yeah, that stuff is sagging.
Well, what's her name? Tsunade. She had like medical knowledge, so she was probably modifying her body to stay so young. And yeah, it backfired.
Couple, I almost snorted my tea out.
Yeah.
FMA only had 2 child soldiers and only 1 was employed.
Oh,
It's a wonderful sentence.
yeah. His brother was not considered human, so he didn't get a paycheck.
It's awesome.
All right, 1 minute in.
I discovered my love for shonen anime and manga at the age of 6 when I was flicking through the kids' channels and came across a show where the characters were floating in mid-air against a green backdrop. Little did I know at that age that this show was called Dragon Ball Z, and ever since then I have found myself drawn to similar types of shows. There was something captivating about watching a hero up against impossible odds. A hero who remains unwavering with their resolve, who feels determined to overcome the odds to achieve victory at any cost. Not knowing what an underdog was at the age of 6, I had been witnessing the struggle of the underdog in battle after battle through watching Dragon Ball Z. As a consequence of watching these types of shows, this influenced my...
I don't think Goku's an underdog. I think he's weaker than his... That's the whole point of Goku, is that he gets up against stronger foes, he loses, he trains, and then he's stronger. He's way stronger than...
Yeah, underdog is the wrong term for Goku. It is how some protagonists start out. What's his name? Green jumpsuit guy from Midoriya from My Hero Academia. He starts out as an underdog.
Yeah.
Because he has no powers. He only has his drive.
Exactly.
And he's just a normal, frail human. And that is the inspiring part that justifies giving him the power. That is the underdog becoming the hero. Son Goku was never an underdog. He was underestimated, maybe. But he always had basically superpowers.
Yeah, you use the term underdog when you're talking about a rags to riches story or not a coming of age story necessarily, but there's a guy who's got nothing or he's just starting off. He is the underdog because he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no skills. He has no experience. People laugh at you. Like Naruto is an underdog. He starts off with nothing. He has no parents. He sucks at ninja school. And then suddenly he finds a magic scroll and he's able to train at this forbidden technique. And he's the best. And it was his worst thing in school, doing the shadow clone or just the cloning skill. Mm-hmm. And then he learns the uber skill, which I don't know why no one else is teaching, but apparently
because it's forbidden.
It's forbidden, but
and then Naruto makes a joke out of it.
Yeah, so he becomes really good at it at the last minute when he needs to help his friends or whatever and defeat the bad guy. So
yeah, but the underdog part of the phase of the story is relatively short. It's just a setup.
Yeah, he's always vilified.
It doesn't really come up again. But it doesn't really come up again. He stays strong and powerful.
Yeah.
Just like Goku, because he's just like Goku. And if Goku had started like that for the rest of the million episode show if you take in all the seasons. He's not the underdog. He, in fact, gets so powerful that we have to put him off screen or keep him dead for a while so that we can actually have some struggle and some story.
Right. So you need to have the villain. This is a typical antagonist setup. Nothing to do with fighting per se, but the antagonist is always better, stronger, wiser, more experienced, has more capabilities, resources, whatever, than the good guys, whether it's an army, whether it's one dude in school, whether that's a big dog and a small dog, doesn't matter. That's your typical antagonist setup. So, yes, you could call the protagonist in that regard an underdog, but with Goku's case, I wouldn't go that far.
And I'm happy that lots of the chat agrees with me that the original Dragon Ball was better.
It was more memorable, I think.
It was different.
Yeah, the capsule like all the little nuances of Toriyama's art designs, they're more colorful to me. Whereas with Z, it was all just a bunch of dudes and they're alien dudes and they're fighting and it's like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, original Dragon Ball looked like it played in the same universe as Dr. Slump.
Ah, interesting. All right, here's Ace Ventura, Erect Detective. Thank you. I relate to why this guy said, that's the actual sentence, ever since I saw Shinji choke his chicken over the passed out girl at age 12 on Adult Swim, I fell in love with anime. Also, I'm a lot like Goku, but instead of gaining super forms, I gain knowledge of how to make explosives. Well, that's essentially the same. I mean, okay. You're doing the same thing as Goku anyways. It's okay.
May I ruin Toriyama's style for you forever?
Is there something in the 80s or 70s?
Right in this frame. And it started distracting me on TV the moment I saw it as a kid. Look at the ears.
Yeah.
From the front, the ears are always drawn as if they're from the side. Like the ears are basically 2D textures that are just stuck staring towards the camera.
Right. And the guy's forehead is way too wide, meaning his
that's another thing, but the ears look exactly the same from the side as they look from the front. It's just distracting. Like, ears don't look like that. They don't. Human ears don't stand off like that.
Well, a lot of his character designs are aliens or like Magus from Chrono Trigger. They got like these long, pointy ears. So he really likes to pull out the the appendages. I don't know. It's just like eyebrows are like boof, you know? Big spikes of hair. You
know. I was okay with Toriyama's art style for Dragon Ball. When I saw it in some RPGs, I was like, why is it here too? Why does everything look like Dragon Ball?
It looks great as a sprite, not as character art so much. So it's
the one thing that and I still have to catch up on that. Yeah. What is the word I'm looking for? That pushed me away from getting right into Chrono Trigger. Because I came from Seeker of Mana.
You hate your life.
I know. Chrono Trigger uses some of the same character designs.
Yes.
But Toriyama fight. And I didn't like that as a kid. Like, It looks weird. It's wrong. What happened?
Yeah, when you play Secret of Mana, Xenogears, and Chrono Trigger, there's this weird sort of art direction which is so close to each other. And as soon as you connect, you're like, wait, isn't this the same guys? And you look at the credits, you're like, yes, some of the same guys who worked on these games did the same art style. And it's kind of funny when you see that, but they're obviously very different games. There's a certain feel to them, though. So, anyway, and there's some, secrets that they tell that you can tell that they're references to those games as well. But that's you pick up on that if you're fans, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, let's keep going.
My beliefs and the kind of person that I'd grow up to become. Shonen literally means youth, and when it's described in the context of manga or anime, it refers to media which is targeted towards the teen male demographic. The most popular magazine publication for this type of manga is Weekly Shonen Jump, which began in 1968. Jump magazine continues to be published today, proving to be the best-selling manga magazine in Japan. Shonen Jump has a golden principle, or a motto by which the manga they publish should follow. To be considered for publication in Jump, for the most part, the manga must embody the Jump motto of friendship, effort, and victory. The principles found within this motto are embodied into several action and adventure series, which are published in Jump magazine, like Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, One Piece, etc.
Yeah, but that's not every manga. I've seen Parasite was more for adults. They published it there. So there's all kinds of different manga out there that they publish if they think it's worthy to read. It's not just purely for shonen. So.
Yeah, it would get the magazine would get boring that way. You can say that it keeps that as its main line, that you can, when you buy it, you can be sure this type of shonen stuff will definitely be in there.
Right.
And then there's some other stuff that is promoted through that. That's like dragged along. Like, here's this other stuff. Have a look. Maybe you like it.
Exactly.
And it's usually how you do it.
There is some exception to this, particularly in the case of Death Note, which stands alone as a reputable piece of work, which rarely relies on the conventional Shonen Jump motto. Friendship can be seen in One Piece through the protagonist Luffy, who forms special bonds with each of his crewmates who have their own purpose and dream that they wish to fulfill, while helping Luffy to fulfill his dream of finding the treasure called One Piece, so that he can earn the title of the King of the Pirates. Effort, or hard work, can be seen in Dragon Ball. The most influential display of this principle is in the Cell arc. When up against adversaries who not even a Super Saiyan can defeat, Goku and Vegeta resolve to attain a level which is beyond a Super Saiyan. They struggle along with their sons to attain a level which was thought to not exist. And lastly, victory, which is displayed by Naruto in one of the best examples of a victory in Shonen Jump. Despite being shunned and hated by his village, Naruto gains the respect and acknowledgement of his closest friend.
He's just giving
and the village
examples.
that once pushed him away. Naruto is born as an orphan after losing his parents. He knows the pain of having nobody beside him. Naruto accomplishes his dream and becomes the respected and honored leader or Hokage.
A little side note on how far the censorship went. So Naruto's parents are dead, right?
Right.
I have to ask this question because in the German version they just changed it to missing. They're gone. Yeah, they're not dead. Also, we don't know. They're just gone. Because the German censorship is really not that far away from Chinese censorship. They don't want to put any sort of violence and death concepts towards under 18s here. That's why the German version of Naruto is so cut up and so censored that it doesn't make bloody sense. You have these scenes where there's lots of dead ninja on the ground, lots of blood everywhere, these giant shurikens stuck in the backs of them. In the German version, that's all brushed out. There's no blood. And no big shuriken stuck in someone's spine. It's just that just it looks like they're just all sleeping. They just all fell over. Oh God.
Well, Naruto has these elements of there's so many tropes. You could resurrect the dead for limited times. You can go back in time. There's alternate dimensions. There's gods running around behind the scenes. There's all kinds of weird shit happening. So eventually, he does visit his parents in some capacity.
Yeah, Kyogre, the Naruto is already in the era of really shitty, cheap dubs in Germany. It's unlistenable. It's like the proper example is the German dub for Game of Thrones, where everybody sounds all the time, no matter what they talk about, talking with each other like this, even over breakfast, where they just discuss how nice the weather is. They always sound like they want to, they're angry and want to murder the one across the table right now, because that's what happens in Game of Thrones, right? Everybody tries to murder everyone. So everybody has to speak like they want to murder everyone all the time. It's like, who gives these fucking instructions?
Well, I remember hearing the German Mass Effect dub, and
that is a joke in itself.
That was hilarious. I was just dying. It's just every conversation is like, what? That's German?
the emotional. There's no emotional connection between the lines because they've all been recorded at once. So the voice actor for what is it, the general is recorded by himself.
Yeah.
All lines at once. Male shepherd, all lines recorded at once. Female shepherd, all lines recorded at once. Tali, every line recorded at once. They do not know what the text of the other actors are. They do not know what they even react to. They're guessing how they maybe say the line. They're guessing the context. So you get these hilarious conversations where one says something benign in a super serious and angry tone. The next one says something that replies something that should be serious or affronted in a jovial, funny tone or sarcastic. And it's like, nothing makes sense. Emotionally, German Mass Effect makes no sense.
It's amazing.
And then, of course, we get to the word choice of the translation, where the conduit is just the pipe. We're on the epic sci-fi space opera quest for the pipe.
It's the same I noticed even with Babylon 5, which they do some decent actors to do the voice acting, but it's still, the tone seems way off. It seems as if they're in another room. And
it's okay. That's because German dubs are recorded very clearly, because the core.
Loud. Yeah.
Yeah. The German mixing for movies is also very different. Like I noticed the difference when I first went into sneak peeks where you get the original English, and I noticed I have huge trouble understanding many original American productions because they have the speech very low and the background noise or music, but also mainly explosions and stuff, really loud, which makes it really hard for me to sometimes hear what are the people even saying. And the German dubs always focus on putting the speech a bit unnaturally in the foreground so that it's more clear. You still have all the background noise, but the speech is always clear to understand. That's a key feature of it. That's deliberate. But other than that, when you give the voice actors bad instructions, then of course you're gonna get crap out of it. And this is the part of the cheap dub production, like this run down all the notes, all the lines.
Yeah,
in what context is this set? Is not so important. Just improvise.
Yeah, it's a bit sad because you do have actors that have certain ethnicities. Like I think there was Dr. Michelle, and she clearly had a French accent, and then you go to the French version of Mass Effect, you're like, oh, that's really different, and you get the French, and they actually gave a female French. It's like, oh, that's a nice version of Dr. Michelle or whatever her name was. So it's nice when space operas actually do the multi-language or the multicultural characters. Like when you see with Babylon 5, you get the whole gamut of Europeanness, I guess, through the aliens. And to hear that in other languages is always neat, but it's loud. It's always loud. So.
I think that's the one thing that is better, or rather one that I criticize the opposite of. Because I just don't understand why the background music must be as loud or louder than the dialogue of the actors. It's like, why? What the hell is wrong with you people?
All right.
But just one thing about that. They resynthesized the voice for Ambassador Kosh, which sounds much more ominous and mysterious in the German one. It has more volume, if you want, more. It's not louder. It just has more. It fills up more space. It feels like it's coming from everywhere, and that's the one thing I found was a bit of a letdown in the original. It sounds a bit weak there. Yeah. By the way, the German version of Baldur's Gate 2 is pretty good. That was nice.
Nice. Love that game. All right, keep going.
Of Konoha Village. Why is it that Jump magazine emphasizes, for the most part, these 3 principles? I believe that these are relatable principles, which almost everybody will have had to endure or come across at one point in their life. The Jump magazine target demographic is teenagers. The work that they publish is cool. Read by readers who are at a vulnerable age. They may be struggling with making friends. They may lack understanding of putting in hard work or effort towards schoolwork, or their relationships with their friends and family. They may consequently, as a result of having difficulty with friendship and putting in hard work, evade victory or success with the ambitions that they do have. It is the core ethos of series that are published in Jump, that one cannot be had without the other. Friendship goes hand in hand with effort and will in turn result in victory. And it is these very themes which resonate with audiences and leave an impression on the way that they look at life. The majority of the time, heroes in these series do not begin their journey with a miracle or power that is bestowed upon them. The protagonist in shonen anime generally embodies a spirit of resolve. They have a great deal of willpower or persistence, and lastly, they have some form of innate trait or ability which they may or may not be aware of. The story will usually center around one of these 2 common plot points. Firstly, the plot may be based on becoming the best that you can be in a particular field or mastery which is revered by the world that the story is set in. And the second alternative option is a plot that revolves around defeating a once thought undefeatable foe, and repeating this if necessary by introducing another stronger and more challenging opponent to continue the plot with, or to develop the characters that are set.
He's just showcasing literal examples without understanding what it means.
I mean, if you defeat the undefeatable, haven't you become a master?
He's giving the example of characters who need to struggle, and that's the basis of any story. You have to show conflict, so you have to show a gradation of strength or experience or skill. And I always say the best sort of character or protagonist is the one that can endure whatever comes their way. That's why we look at Metal Gear and I say Solid Snake, you don't need to know anything about him. His background is barely knowable, but he can take a beating. That's the point. He can endure whatever comes his way and keep going. That's a protagonist. And you have to believe that, because the protagonist dies, you need to replace the protagonist, or the villain becomes the protagonist, or something has to happen in that story for that shift to occur in a practical, logical way. So the basic thing for a protagonist in terms of conflict is endurance. And I like looking at anime sometimes because they have certain versions of that. I think the best one was Attack on Titan, because what they did was they split these 3 main characters into their main traits. Eren was motivation. He was so gung-ho. He was an indomitable will. So he just keep going. He'd endure through anything, keep pushing. You had his lady friend, I can't remember her name. She was just strong as hell. She was super fit, really stronger than average. So she had the strength. And then there's the other guy who was really smart. So you had this sort of approach to problems, and they would all tackle it in their own way. And then the story gets weird later on. But that idea...
But Mikasa had a... She also had a strong motivation. It was just a different one. It was more of an inward one.
Oh, yeah.
Hers was to protect Eren.
All the characters had their own motivation. Eren's was just... whatever the problem was, he would be the number one guy to tackle it because of his motivation or his...
I would say he had the it's not the right word, but the external motivation, or the not external, but the one that's aimed to the outside of the group, while Mikasa's is aimed at the inside of the group.
It was a personal thing for her,
in protecting the group. With only Mikasa's motivation and extremely strong conviction, it's unbreakable effectively. With only hers, there would be no movement in the story.
Yeah, because when you talk about motivation, you're immediately going into plot, and you're saying, why are they doing what they're doing? And if Mikasa was not as strong as she was just a normal person, then we would see her as another hero character, because she's nothing special about her. She'd just be like, I'm the girl, and I'm with Eren, and I want to protect him, but I suck at that. So you would have to have an entire arc for her to get stronger. Whereas we see a flashback and we see why she's strong and how she's strong already. So she's already there. She's already achieved what she wants. She
basically turned into a sociopath by seeing a spider eat a butterfly or something.
I don't remember the exact scenario, but she became hardened very early on, and her body just decided to like beef up naturally. So she became super powerful as a little girl. But that means her growth is done. She's already achieved what she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees things in a very straightforward way. So
she is basically Erin's Deus Ex Guardian Angel.
Guardian Angel, exactly, yeah, and or right hand muscle. So, but then Eren becomes his own weird shit. It's just
I'd rather say Guardian Angel because her actions are more reactions to Eren's stupidity, rather than him sending her out as an agent.
The problem with that story is they ruin what to do with Eren. It just becomes this weird revenge.
The story ruins everything because the writer didn't know what the fuck even to do.
It was kind of like obvious they didn't know what to do from the first few episodes, because you're like, oh, this is going to be a whole mystery of why this is happening, and then they reveal the mystery, and they're like, oh, now what you have to do? You have to go on a quest, and then they're going to screw the quest up. I just know it. And I only
should have just stayed on fucking fantasy shit.
I just watched the first, not the first season, but the first few episodes of this season. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. As soon as I saw that boulder being carried, I was like, okay, I'm done. That's enough.
Oh wait, they did invent the wheel.
What wheels? What, they're round? I didn't know that. Spheres? What are those?
Look, the armor titan guy, he was not very bright, okay?
Oh god, it's not. Yeah, that's a.
He was an actual muscle. He was not a brain.
Wow. Yeah. There's lots of things wrong with these animes. But this is a thing not just for anime. This is in stories in general when they become popular, or they get planned out. No one knows what to do with these heroes, and the quest stories don't work. You could see the writing on the wall from a mile away. And
when you write super epic mega stories where you have this really cool setup in the beginning, because that is the initial moment of Attack on Titan, that's gripping. That's good. But if you write shit like that, know what your ending is gonna be. Know where you're gonna move.
Yeah, and they always kept changing.
You can have everything fall into place so that you don't write yourself into a fucking corner along the way and everything turns into contradictory garbage.
And then you have an ensemble cast of protagonists and it just keeps switching, and there's so many side plots and characters killing each other off. It's like, this is a mess. I can't follow.
You don't have to have everyone. I know it's supposed to convey the trauma of war, but you don't have to have everyone have a almost constant 1,000-yard stare at some point with the hard lines drawn into the face. At some point, it just looks stupid.
So the concept of the main characteristic of endurance, the ability to take any conflict or at least deal with any conflict, is a given for a protagonist or a series. And then it's up to character growth to allow that character to go whatever direction the story needs them to go. So fighting something like a giant or climbing a mountain, I mean, this is whatever the conflict is and whatever the story is supposed to be about. So it's typical. It's not a big deal. It's not just for anime. It's all stories.
Get into fucking Golem, Eren.
Okay.
Nobody get that? All right, Gingerman isn't here. I have no audience in the fucking call.
Oh. All right. Anyway, keep on going.
Within this world. In Japanese philosophy, persistence, resolve, and talent are three virtues which are found within the Japanese spirit, and that's the same kind of spirit that shonen protagonists embody. Persistence is valued as the most important of the three virtues. Resolve is the second most important virtue. Typically in a shonen series, the protagonist will have an insight which will lead to them realizing their reason to fight, or become a master in their chosen field, reaffirming their resolve. The third and final virtue is talent, which is considered to be the least important of the three. The Japanese spirit believes that in any given situation where death may be certain, everybody has a choice to make, to either fight or to die. So even a weak individual who perseveres and puts in enough hard work may prove themselves worthy, ultimately considering hard work to trump natural born talent. The battle between Goku and Vegeta perfectly juxtapose this philosophy. Vegeta, the naturally gifted fighter, who had been destined for greatness his own life, born with an incredible fighting talent, up against Goku, who was born as a low-class commoner, a warrior deemed as a failure who would not amount to anything. Through Goku's persistence and resolve to become stronger and stronger, he now stands up against Vegeta. Talent and raw ability versus practice, patience, and perseverance. Shonen stories are long-running in nature, so audiences will typically follow these stories from their childhood through to their adult years until these stories resolve. As an example, most people who follow One Piece, including myself, will have followed it from their adolescence to today. These stories do have deeper themes. On the surface, they may appear as just a battle between a hero up against a villain. Shonen stories embody what it is to feel and experience youth. This helps the stories to appeal even more to their target demographic. This is shown through characters who have absurdly unrealistic dreams, unwavering determination, and generally how these characters tend to initially have a naive outlook about their life experience. Personally, these stories embody the whirlwind of emotions that is growing up and finding who you are as a person. In my opinion, a character is not relatable if they have not experienced pain. Following the story of a character who's constantly had everything handed.
Heard that, Ray?
Pain?
Brie Larson?
I don't know if pain is an essential component. I think it's an effect of struggle.
Well, the pain is the pain is part of the struggle. The pain is a result of well, you didn't get through it perfectly. You're basically stuck for a moment.
Well,
you don't know how to proceed.
It doesn't have to be pain. It could be fear. It could be anything that prevents the character from doing a certain thing. So any block.
Yeah, even that, I will say that would equate to psychological pain.
Oh, no, I'm not saying there's nothing going on inside, but you don't physically need them to, like, oh, they got a cut or they lost an arm or anything like that.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It translates into psychological pain, which is the more important one. Physical wounds heal more easily.
Yeah, you could say the trauma from a childhood event is just as effective. You can call that painful, I guess. But it doesn't have to literally be pain. Any conflict will do. It has to affect the person in a way that's not necessarily negative, is what I'm saying. Because pain is always negative. So,
why would any audience member care for such a character? I saw Dragon Ball Z at a young age, and still think back to it with high regard. It captivated me. When I was watching Goku getting back up from a beating given to him by Frieza, Goku still getting up and challenging Frieza after getting knocked down repeatedly. It shocked me even further when Frieza claimed to be only using less than a third of his power to beat down Goku.
Wasn't this after Goku trained all the time on that spaceship flight?
I don't remember, but this is typical.
Or did he first insta-teleport to Namek? I don't remember.
This is typical Dragon Ball stuff. You know, I'm using 5%. I'm using 10%.
Yeah, no.
Blah,
but I mean,
blah.
The relevant part about Goku. Assuming I am not misremembering, and his trip to Namek was on a spaceship. On the spaceship, he had increased gravity, so he could train more.
Right.
So he was training himself up to be stronger. So he would be even stronger when he got to Namek. You'd think, yeah, he's going to kick ass now. And then he'd get a beating after you think he's even stronger now than he was on Earth. And that is the twist that gets you invested. Like he's not just Goku. He's Goku who trained ahead of time and then still got his ass handed to him.
Right.
It was at that moment when I saw the hopelessness and desperation on Goku's face, wondering if Goku could defeat Frieza. Because this shot makes it in your own mind that the protagonist could fail or succeed. Being really young and impressionable, it was the first time that I'd ever felt these feelings of fear and anxiousness. And it's that feeling that shonen anime and manga capitalize on. because it's a feeling that we will all eventually go through in our life. And when Goku is pushed to the edge and he transforms into a Super Saiyan and defeats Frieza, I really think it's symbolic of the human struggle. No matter how difficult the task is at hand, no matter how hopeless the situation may seem, when we are pushed to the edge, we either fight or flight. It's the basic response that every human has within them. And seeing Goku have these human emotions, and seeing him either choose between giving in to despair or standing his ground and facing Frieza. These stories, despite being set in fictional fantasy worlds, ground themselves with real true-to-life themes which...
This is a bit of a stretch. Yes, you could argue the parasympathetic nervous system, but it's like, okay... to visualize that in anime is fine, but it doesn't make it one-to-one. It's like, oh, this relates to everything. It's like, no. He's an alien. He does alien things. And it only works when he's near death, apparently. So he has to get to a certain level of suffering or whatever. And then his body transforms and he has to heal back every time he fights. So that's the pattern in Dragon Ball. They break their bodies down and they come back.
Yeah, to the point of once figured out, they abuse the system.
And then the power creep goes crazy, and it's like, okay, that's not for me anymore.
Which go beyond just a bad guy versus a good guy. The Dragon Ball manga founded many of the elements that made a successful shonen battle series, and it should come as no surprise that Dragon Ball inspired many authors. And while growing up, we saw 3 of these inspired authors, who each competed for the top ranking within Jump magazine. The 3 series that they had penned were dubbed as the Big 3, each one competing for the same level of success as Dragon Ball. It was a once-in-a-lifetime unique situation of its time. 3 talented authors, Tite Kubo, Masashi Kishimoto, and Ishiro Oda, who were inspired by Akira Toriyama. Dragon Ball Z introduced me to shonen anime and manga, but Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece are solely responsible for my obsession with shonen storytelling. In Bleach, Ichigo resolves to protect his friends and family. He feels accountable for his mother's death, which he experienced at a young age. Ichigo now vows to protect the people around him. After he attains the abilities of a Soul Reaper, Ichigo is determined to rescue his friend Rukia. She is due to be executed for treason as a consequence of sharing her powers with Ichigo. Ichigo and his friends are up against experienced and knowledgeable adversaries, the old hierarchical Soul Society. Their naive decision to rescue their friend may have just cost them their lives.
All right, this has nothing to do with the topic. Look, we keep going on. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, here's good.
Is one of Shonen Jump's most relatable protagonists. He is not always cheerful. He feels that he has limitations, and he doubts himself on several occasions, and even gives in to despair. Where many other shonen protagonists may fail physically to step forward through strain and fatigue, Ichigo stumbles mentally. He portrays a struggle that many may face secretly.
Yeah, this is like every shonen protagonist.
Yeah, they actually all do go through that.
Naruto goes through this. What's his name from that high school with the heroes? I can't remember the name.
My Hero Academia.
My Hero Academia. Yeah, this is like every hero.
Fucking Ikari Shinji goes through this. He doesn't recover from it. The fucking loser.
Yeah, he has no superpowers.
No. It's not about him not having superpowers, but he has the super robot. But he's going through the mental struggle. He's just not getting anywhere through it.
He doesn't know what to do with it.
There's no direction.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know what the problem is. He doesn't even know what his problem is.
I'm meaningful because I pilot the robot, but is that all I am? And then he just stops. And that's it. And he just goes, oh, why am I doing this? It's like, you just told yourself why. Well, do you want to do it? No. Okay. And that's it. That's as far as he goes.
Yeah, it's the problem of Hideaki Anno said he wrote it during his own depression, and when you are actually depressed, you don't even see the answer for the answer that it is, and that I think reflects well in that. It just doesn't make a good story.
It doesn't go. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't go anywhere, and you're like, okay, he's just going to go through the motions as stuff around him happens, and he's stuck. He doesn't go.
And that is why when you have problems like this, and it's not this in the middle of a fight or some bullshit, but if you have this life thing, this life problem that you're stuck with, sit down, take a pen, take a piece of paper, and start writing. write down what is going on in your life right now. You will get to the problem that way and dissect it automatically, understand it, and see the answer. You see the bloody obvious answer. It's usually bloody obvious. You just can't see it while it's just this giant, unarticulated blob in your head. So what would have helped Shinji, as well as Hideaki Anno, would be to write the fucking problem down. And then you could have a better story at the end.
No, it gets dragged out and forgotten about, and then it's just Shinji's useless, and they throw him around in the robot, and stuff happens, and that's the story. And you're like, okay, I guess. Thanks for that wonderful plot that went nowhere. For like
Furikuri makes more sense than that, and that says a lot.
Oh, every time I bring up Evangelion, I'm like, oh, just watch FLCL. It's so much more fun.
Yeah. It's the same and shorter and actually positive.
Yeah, almost the same plot, the same scenario, just cute and fun and simple. And the hero knows what he wants. Like, yeah, thank you. It's obvious.
Yeah, a nice animation, nice perspective play, nice stupid jokes, animation jokes. You get your Hideaki Anno train crossing things that you have in every work of his, which is kind of like the Easter egg.
Yeah, it's rom-com. You got action, you got robots, it's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Smart, we still haven't watched Ritual.
Okay. We could remedy that problem eventually.
He sounds so enthusiastic. I haven't watched that movie in over 15 years. And oh, God. Lots of train tracks.
Yeah, well, we have I have a big project for everyone, as you guys don't already know, in the Discord. We're listing all the best games, and we're doing it in as many categories as we can think of, because as soon as I thought of the project, I'm like, we got to do this properly. We can't just say the ones I liked or the most influential. It's the ones that really are memorable to you.
Mm-hmm.
And
notable.
There's lots of there's so many reasons why one game sticks out as opposed to another, or why you go back to one, or why you never forget this one scene. So, but it's not just that. There has to be something with that connects you and drives you to either finish the game or keep playing the game or going back to the game every year or every 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, like there's for most people, it's that most of the games you will never finish for various reasons. Right. Even as a kid, maybe because you got to a point that was just too hard. And there, for example, it's a point of, well, in all those games you didn't finish, why did you push through to finish that one in particular? That there may be a point that makes that game stand out as to why you did that. Another example could be special game design choices that stand out, that make something work. For example, I hate QuickTime events. Holy shit. Because they're almost 99% of games, they're done like ass. There's one game where I like the QuickTime events because they're done right. And I can go into a 5-minute explanation as to why, but it's very off topic. I will just say it is Asura's Wrath. It incorporates QuickTime events, and it does so in a fun and non-punishing fashion. It's just you want to do them. And they're just integrated. They're not holding off anything. They're just there, and they're integrated into the flow, and they make it. They make it. How do I say that? They make the flow more impactful. They get you more engaged, and that's what they should do. They should not be little struggle points that actually have no meaning, that force you to make you where I've seen this one thing in that Marvel game where it waits for you to push A, and if you don't, the game doesn't continue, just stops in the cutscene. Like that is not how QuickTime events should work, for fuck's sake. Even in Xenoblade 1 and 2, the QuickTime events were very minor, but they were still more in the sense of fun and bonus stuff. And that's how you do them right. Asura's Wrath did them perfectly, and 99% of games don't. They do them like ass.
I tend to see QuickTime events as I don't know if you guys have heard of the trope, the cutscene power to the max, where your character in gameplay does not do or is different than the character in cutscenes. And to try and bridge that gap, you make the cutscenes somewhat interactive, so you are doing the thing the character is doing. And that usually involves, like, I think on Ashura's Wrath, he does all kinds of crazy, catching a meteorite or whatever. So
you basically get bonus points for that.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, you want the character to be doing the same thing in the cutscene as they are in the gameplay, but you also want them to be awesome, and maybe the thing they're doing is only a one-time thing, so it's like, okay, this is a very special event where you can't do, like, Dante can't do this move without the cutscene power. Like, okay, fine, it's fine. So there's certain times for it. I don't personally enjoy them because I prefer everything to be in gameplay, especially the dialogue scenes. But yeah, there's times when it's like, maybe Shepard could push a guy through a super powerful pane of glass in the future by just knocking him over.
Yeah. That's the moment where I find it rather unnecessary. It's Mass Effect is not the game where I would integrate this.
Yeah.
When in, like, if it puts you before a choice, okay, that because that's the style of Mass Effect. It's about the choices. And Asura's Wrath, it's just it doesn't, you don't lose anything by not doing it. The story still continues. It's just you don't get points. And a similar thing they did in Xenoblade 2 with the special attacks of your blades. You get a little special cutscene for the super damage with the basically the Sailor Moon super attack, Magical Girl super attack with big weapons, and every blade does a different thing, has different levels of this, and for every one of them, sometimes it's done better than others. Some are a bit distinct, I think. You get to push the button at the right time so that the attack is more powerful. You can leave it without, but if you do it, you get so much extra damage, and it's when it's well designed with the blades, then it really feels like you are hitting the button when the blade is doing the attack.
Right, that's when
that feels good.
They're combining gameplay or cutscenes as gameplay, and I remember, as much as I dislike Final Fantasy VIII, I do recall Squall's Limit Break, where this little bar appears on the screen and this little target spins, and it comes or it doesn't spin, it comes forward, and it goes to the X, and you trigger that and it does more damage. I'm like, that's good, that's fine.
You can laugh at me, I never figured out how this limit break system works in Final Fantasy VIII. It randomly appeared like 3 times in my entire playthrough, and I'm like, okay,
I think it's based off damage. Yeah, you get hit and it juices up. Honestly, I don't remember.
Why would you get low hit points?
I
think it's linked to low hit points, but I never got to low hit points, so it never happened.
I really hated Final Fantasy VIII, and I played it twice, so I'm like, I hate this game. I played it just to show how much I hated it, and I was impressed at how much I hated that game. Anyway.
What was horrible was the function for cheering on the Guardian forces, because that was basically the Xenoblade 2 thing in shit. Like, hit the button to make the UI thing appear, which is really badly explained in the PC version. I don't know if it's better explained in the console version. And then you have to button mash at the right time to cheer the percentage of damage of the Guardian Force on. I think it starts at 75 or 85%. You can, with some, you can get up to 130 or 150%. But when it says don't push the button now, you must not push the button, or you lose all the bonus, and it falls back to the standard value. And it's like, that's shit. That's a shit system. It's horrible.
Well,
it's just button mashing.
There are games that are just QuickTime events. I think the Telltale series of any game they make, there's adventure, and then there's QuickTime events. That's the whole game. So you have to like the system. You have to appreciate the story. Mm-hmm. But people play those games not for the QuickTime events. They play it for the story and the characters and the storytelling. So anyway.
Yes. I just brought it up as this is a game mechanic that's usually done annoying and shit. And in that particular game, it's done well. It's done as a probably should be because it works.
Right. Okay. Patrick.
Yeah, go on.
Patrick-based man. Okay, not Patrick. Okay. Frieza's head looks like an albino's freshly circumcised penis. Also, fun fact, Frida, or is it Frieza or Frida? Originally,
Frieza.
Well, I know, but he wrote Frida. Originally called the dairy and the N-word, but the dub studio couldn't put that into English, so they came up with the compromise. Called the dairy and the N-word.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Anyway, but
I have not heard that before.
Yeah, we're almost halfway done. He seems to be relying on his subjective like of the anime. He happens to be shonen, without telling us what shonen is exactly about, because he just gave broad, like, there's friendship and there's the Japanese spirit, and you're like, that's
It's not
fine.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I just like him to be more precise and bring more of the obscure examples, because then it becomes more clear.
Yeah, this is the problem.
I would think
this is the problem with genre being so high level that you have to. If he went down a few levels of subgenres of shonen, then he could probably make a better generalization, or he would just go straight into, like, I like Bleach, here's why. I like Naruto, here's why. Then you could point and say, look, here's Naruto doing the thing, and here's Ichigo doing the thing. Like, that would work better. It's basic categorization. I just don't like this high level one. You have to go down a few levels in your genre and then focus on season 1. Why does season 1 work? Why does season 2 work? Here are the patterns. Here's what shonen is about. And those are the main themes. These are the main characters that represent those themes. And that's that. You're done. Anyway, back to his wonderful video.
One of feeling anxious, fearing loss, feeling inadequate, struggling with our own confidence in our own abilities. Ichigo ultimately overcomes his mental struggles and gives the shonen reader an insight into what it feels like to climb out of mental despair.
Yeah, but again, we talked about Evangelion. That's the opposite of Evangelion. It's still shonen anime. So, is it not shonen anime? Is it something else? Is it for adults? Is it slice of life anime? What is it? I don't know.
Well, the element is there whether the protagonist makes it or doesn't.
Well, that's what
I mean. Usually he makes it because it's just a standard story that you make.
Yeah, it's the character that's the focus of the story, and the character will react exactly the way the character's supposed to act in their story. And that's where people have problems, like myself, with Shinji Ikari or Rei or Asuka. They're all just, something's off with these people. And I think that's the point. They want to show these broken people trying to save the day, and they can't do it, but ultimately they can because story happens and you have to have a happy ending. So
it's always the second wind moment that does it.
Ah, yes. See, that is probably a better way of showcasing what attracts people to the shonen anime manga, not what attracts young adults to shonen, because there's tropes that people love and expect and they hate, and they want to see those tropes subverted, or they want to see like a romantic comedy for shonen. They want to see the 4 major categories of female, like the one who loves you from childhood, the one who hates you but secretly loves you, the one who's the new girl who's just like, I'm positive and I never lie and I love you because I say so. And then there's like the secret one. Like there's all these basic stereotypes of romance that we want to see permuted in different formats. Then we could say this genre uses these patterns, and that's why kids might like it, as opposed to this high-level concept of all heroes follow this pattern when they don't, because we know that they don't. So this is the problem with generalizations and examples.
In Naruto, the loneliness that he feels and experiences is relatable from the very beginning of the series. Everybody knows what it feels like to not fit in, to feel like an outsider among your peers.
You sure?
To be
Everybody
considered
knows that.
different. Unfortunately, these are feelings that everyone has gone through and felt at one point in their life. If I was to summarize the story of Naruto, it's basically to never give up, to stick to your ambition despite what everybody else says. The series really emphasizes about bonds and how it is vital to build and form strong bonds with your friends and family that are in your life. Naruto, who has had nobody and feels loneliness, is contrasted with his rival in the series, Sasuke, who has had everything, including a loving family, which you later find out were murdered. Their experience.
So he had a loving family that was murdered? Okay. So he has nothing.
He was just as alone.
Yeah. It's the same story.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you do antagonists and protagonists, guys. You have exactly the same setup or a sliver of the protagonist in the antagonist or vice versa from a different perspective. That's it. You're done. Same with your secondary characters. Take a sliver of the other protagonist or antagonist, make them a friend or foe. Different perspective. Done.
Experiences and their conflicting beliefs clash and are pitted against each other. Sasuke, who wants revenge against his brother for murdering his clan, including his parents, while Naruto, on the other hand, wants to save Sasuke from abandoning the bonds that he has made and consequently falling into evil on his quest for revenge. Sasuke, who feels the pain of loss as a result of his bonds, and Naruto, who seeks to remedy his loneliness by building bonds. The final Big 3 series, which is still ongoing, One Piece, follows Monkey D. Luffy's adventure through the vastly well-developed world of One Piece. The journey of the characters and the adventure that they are on to find the treasure called One Piece is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes.
See, this is where I want him to focus, because people don't watch it just because they have characters who struggle. That's kind of a given.
Mm-hmm.
There's something fun about the adventure of a pirate story or a ninja story or whatever Bleach is trying to be. And it appeals to those people for a reason. I'm quite sure there's more people who like Bleach in Japan than there are Bleach in the world, just because it's very Japanese.
Mm.
And with pirate stories, you can get away with that a little bit more because you have these really fun set pieces and big ships and big people.
And every time another island, that's another weird adventure.
It's always fun.
It's a trek.
It's a fun, episodic, sometimes there's arcs, but it's mostly episodic, and you have a great time. And there's all these wacky characters, and
yeah, it's pirate trek.
It is there to have fun, exactly. And it's so appealing to many people, and the typical stuff of, if you have a family, if you have friends, you want to protect them. Great, write a character that does that. He struggles, he's got wacky powers or one wacky power, and he endures. That's it. You're done. So This is what I want him to get at, not just this is why I think it is, and he's sort of just throwing things at the wall, and then he's getting into, well, this anime is good because of that. You're like, you're right. Start there, and then extrapolate. Don't just go Spirit of Japan and endurance. It's like, what? No.
And no, Space Junk. No, we do not talk about the German dub of Naruto and its atrocious mispronunciation of names. We do not talk. It does not exist. Okay.
Okay.
Don't mention it, ever. Let it be forgotten by his.
One Piece is the master of escapism. It is so easy to get lost into its vast world. You explore this world with the Straw Hat Pirates. Each new location that they visit gives you a feeling that you are exploring in a real world that is so vast with so much to see. There are so many adversaries and rivals along the way that challenge Luffy and his crew, and there are equally as many companions and friendships that they have made along their journey. We have followed the Straw Hat Pirates' adventures across the Grand Line. We now follow their story into the New World, which is the second, more arduous portion of their journey. As they sail closer to...
Oh, yeah. Okay, so friendship, themes of camaraderie, struggling to save everyone, and adventure fun. It's okay. Same everywhere. Okay, good. We got that.
Finding the treasure called One Piece, Luffy and the Straw Hats have experienced defeat, separation, and loss. After a 2-year time skip where the crew were separated, they reunite and are stronger and wiser, and are up against the 4 Emperors of the Sea and the Marines.
Are they stronger and wiser? Stronger, maybe. Wiser, I don't know. It depends what we're talking about. The lesson they learn per episode, sure. But Luffy is pretty dumb. Naruto is pretty dumb. All these characters they haven't really changed much. They learned skills. They've gotten physically stronger. You might have seen said they've gotten more mature, but ultimately they're all the same. They're completely alien to the opposite sex, yet know about the opposite sex. So they're not really mature in that way, and I guess they're eternal children in certain ways. And Naruto knows about sex. He has that sex no jutsu, whatever it's called, but he has no idea that Hinata's into him. He has no idea that Sakura's into him.
Because he's blind.
It's annoying. It's kind of like, are these guys growing up? Not really. They're just physically getting stronger. That's like, okay.
No, why would he notice Hinata when he's into Sakura all the time?
Yeah, but even then, when Sakura I think in the manga, she says she loves him, and he's like, what? That can't
because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with his image, where she's just in the eternal. Oh God, my brain. Where she's the eternal tsundere.
I guess, and she wants to do.
And then, and she breaks that, and so his mind goes, "Well, I cannot process. This makes no sense."
Yeah, there's a few scenes of maturity that in Naruto that don't add up because they keep going to bigger and bigger set pieces of villains, and like Pain was this crazy villain, and then they have a new villain, and then at the last moment they have a new villain, and it's like, oh my God. So they got to keep amping up the power creep, and it's boring. It's silly. As opposed to telling a story of how Naruto finally was accepted by the village. He didn't have to defeat the big bad guy. He didn't have to do that, but they went that way. So.
When it comes to One Piece, it is the grand scale of the world which aids the series to portray the insurmountable odds that the Straw Hats have yet to overcome. Despite already having gone through so much, their journey is far from over.
Yeah, but they have to do that because these guys are over the top already. Like Luffy can he's basically Elastoman or whatever the hell you call that, Elastic Man. He could stretch his arms like, 100 meters this direction, and it's over the top. So you have to have big conflicts, but like physically big conflicts and silly conflicts to match the capacities of the protagonists. So that is what makes it fun, cartoony for kids. Is that specific to shonen? Not really, because there could be stuff like that for children, not necessarily young adults, and it would still be fine. So he's just sort of saying, this is good. It's like, but is it for kids? Is it for young adults? Is it for the 17-year-olds? Is it for the 18-year-olds? Why? Why not? He's just describing it.
They have still got many obstacles that they need to overcome, especially if they wish to achieve their dreams. So now that you're familiar with the big three, you can probably see some of the thematic elements and the cliched stereotypes that shonen stories do use. So what happens when these tropes are subverted? My understanding...
I think he should have just gone into how every show of these incorporates every single one of these points, and now how each of them incorporates another one.
Right. The analytic, like say you and I were to do this, we'd say, okay, let's watch Naruto. It's like, okay, Naruto is this XYZ. Then we watch Bleach. Oh, Bleach is Y, Z, and A. Okay. And we list the similarities, and we say, these are all similar. This is what works for the big popular ones. Is this, and then we would ask, is this what shonen is? And we say, well, yes, but there's more to shonen than just these elements we noticed. And now he's going to look at One Punch Man, power fantasy, but subverted, the concept of the hero. So it works for shonen, but I wouldn't say that's not, like One Punch Man doesn't work as a shonen manga. It works as more than that, as something for adults, for kids, for everyone. So even Bill Burr, the comedian, knew of One Punch Man, and he was critiquing some of the episodes one day. That was funny. So people in the West, people in the West know about this phenomenon that is One Punch Man, which is great. That means it works for adults as well. So
because for kids it's just fun and amazing, and adults understand the actual struggle that Saitama has.
Oh yeah,
it's not just comedy. It's not just comedy. It's, you notice the deeper problem of the everyday life that he has.
And the great thing about this show is it's not just Saitama. It's the characters in the story per episode that have their own conflicts and scenarios that are really the focus. Because Saitama just comes in and defeats, and then he feels depressed. But sometimes they focus on him a bit more. So it's really about these side characters surrounding him, like a Mad Max movie, where it's not about Mad Max. It's about all this stuff happening around him, and he's just sort of trying to get by as a plot. So,
yeah. And with Saitama, it's the important thing is that he shows that no matter how strong you are, there will still be problems for you, and that may just be the boredom of achievement. You've done everything. You've reached the top. What now?
All right.
Buy groceries.
You have to eat, yeah. Misinformation spreader. Thank you, sir. Naruto ended up with an infinitely thicker bitch. He wasted his time on Sakura. Hell, Sakura shacked up with a guy that dumped, left her with a daughter that needs eyeglasses. Sakura is a failure? Oh my god. What?
Yes, she is. Of course she is. But look. For having wasted his time with chasing the wrong girl, having the right one is even makes it even more understandable. Makes it possible for him to understand and appreciate even more having the right one. Look at it as like that.
Subverting shonen
not wasted time.
Are series that employ intelligence into their battles. Are the kind of series that don't rely on friendship is my power or let's transform to attain the impossible tropes. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is, in my opinion, a perfect example of a shonen story which subverts the shonen writing style.
Okay. So we're talking about shonen that's not for shonen? Is that it? I'm confused now. All right, fine. Let's go with this.
The battles in the series are not resolved through strength, but by the intelligence which is displayed by the hero or the villain. The art style, character designs, fashion choices, and the ridiculously exaggerated poses all help to portray a story which is incredibly unique and lives up to the titular bizarre nature.
You can say the same thing about One Piece.
Or Naruto. Or especially Bleach because it's so weird. Yeah, where's he going with this?
Of the show. The story in JoJo's is one of legacy. The audience carries the struggles of the past protagonists, who are the grandfathers, fathers, or uncles of the present JoJo, in the part that you are experiencing. This series is...
So, it has continuity, but based off generations. So does every long-running series. What's the point? Like, we could talk about One Piece, his dad. We could talk about Naruto's dad, and then Naruto becoming a dad. Bleach, I don't know too much about. I'm assuming there's some parentage, but
Shon Goku.
Yeah,
He's your dad.
Continuity is a thing.
Is a testament to the passage of time in regards to setting, the era that the story is being told.
Not really. I mean, yeah, it's this guy's son, girl, dog. Like, who cares? You could tell JoJo in another alternate universe. It wouldn't make a difference.
Told in, and the respect that you begin to have.
I would only say that Japanese media is more well known, or Japanese popular media is more well known for passing the torch more properly than Western media does.
I guess it's not a big deal.
Passing it, at least passing it to the next generation.
JoJo's Adventure it doesn't matter whether they're the sons and daughters of previous JoJo's. It makes no difference. It doesn't, like, no one goes, oh, this is the grandfather's or grandson. Or it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Completely different story.
JoStar lineage. An example of this is in Part 3, Stardust Crusaders, when the current JoJo, Jotaro Kujo, teams up with his grandfather, Joseph Joestar, from Part 2, Battle Tendency. They endeavour to stop Dio, who is using the body of the first JoJo, who's called Jonathan Joestar, as his own vessel, using it to continue his evil. As the reader has been through each part and they have experienced the passage of time, they see Dio desecrate the body of the righteous protagonist of Part 1, Jonathan Joestar, You can feel the emotions of Jotaro and Joseph and how much they care for the body of their ancestor. You completely understand why Dio must be stopped, as well as how much Jonathan means to them, as you are aware of the sacrifices that Jonathan...
Yeah, but this has nothing to do with the topic. You're just describing the show.
Made.
Yeah, because look, this very element that he just described, the desecration of the ancestor in this case, spoiler, that's the plot of Oasis, where it's done to your brother. And you get then sent out and build your own oasis, and at the end you have to defeat the possessed shell of your brother that is that the incarnation of chaos is using as a vessel. Has nothing to do with the shonen stuff. Nothing. It's just it's story.
Yeah. I don't know why he's doing this in this backwards way, and he's trying to... He's not even connecting this to shonen. He's just saying, here's JoJo, which breaks all the rules. You're like, sure. So why are you talking about it?
And how he stopped Dio in part 1. Unlike typical shonen stories, anger is not a tool which is employed to guarantee victory.
Naruto? Bleach? I'm not sure about One Piece, but I'm sure emotion affects something.
In the story of JoJo's, emotions like rage and anger are instead distilled and are replaced with intelligent, methodical planning so that they can defeat the presenting foe. It is a combination of intelligence, lineage, and stylistic design choices, which makes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure my favourite example of subversion when it comes to shonen storytelling. Other well-cited and notable examples which subvert shonen trope.
What is he talking? These all subvert the rules I just made up. Okay, then the rules you made up don't work. Why are you doing this? Maybe shonen is just a target demographic. It has nothing to do with the content or the plots or the characters. They're all unique stories by unique authors doing their own thing.
I wouldn't go all the way. I'd say he's just sloppy in his explanation. The video in general is well made, but I don't think he thought it through thoroughly.
Yeah, he did not
in his structure of it, because that's why you can now come up with this critique. He didn't bring up enough examples of the essence of shonen, because there is a major popular through line that you have, and subversions of that can still be part of the main genre. But if you display it as this 50-50 thing, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, like we can go as far as saying JoJo is its own series of genres, the same way Cowboy Bebop is amalgamation of genres, but they're both for kids. Like both kids and adults can watch those shows for different reasons, but they could both appreciate them. And they're not just for kids, they're not just for adults. They're kind of universal. They're kind of, if you like flashy, crazy, bizarre stories like JoJo's, great, you'll love it. Does that make you a 13-year-old? Not necessarily. But if you like animation and you like fight scenes, then great, you'll love it.
Yeah, because technically, in a way, the so repetitive Pokemon anime is shonen.
Sure.
Simple. And it does not feel like any of these other things he's shown.
Yeah, it's really for kids, but yes, shonen kids of 13 years old can also appreciate it for whatever reason. So this is the problem I have with demographic style stories. If there's no like specific sex and violence that hits a certain age group, it's just saying, this is for kids who like these sorts of feelings or themes or patterns. I want the patterns, not this show breaks all the pattern rules. You're like, okay, then why are you talking about it?
Include Death Note and Hunter x Hunter. Both series employ intelligence and prove that there is more to shonen than just brute strength and larger-than-life transformations. In the case of Death Note...
Yeah, but so does JoJo, as you said. It's about the guy who thinks and plans as opposed to the guy using brute force, which is Death Note as well.
The struggle is just on another layer of the thing. Just as in Hikaru no Go, the struggle is also more mental. It's a bit of a slice of life, but the struggle is in playing the game. Yeah. Similar to Yu-Gi-Oh! Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I'm even sure that some young adults would love to watch some isekai that aren't about power fantasies and are about politics or cooking or eating. Like, there's all kinds of weird isekai out there that there's something for everyone in that genre itself. So this is where we have such an abundance of media that you can't narrow it down to an age group.
GigaChat says Death Note is seinen.
Yeah.
I have not. By the way, I have not read Death Note. The general story wasn't the summary, the plot synopsis wasn't interesting to me. The gimmick wasn't interesting to me. And basically, the moment I got convinced, like maybe give it a chance and read it because everyone thinks it's so great, was the time when the protagonist died, and then I thought. So I already having heard that, I'm like, okay, now I've lost interest again.
Yeah.
So that's why I never read it.
Yeah, you have to. Well, it's almost like a detective story. It's basically cat and mouse, or a reverse detective story. So if you don't like that sort of setup, it's like, okay, but there's all this stuff that you have to get past as well. Like, this book does all these things, and there's all these rules, and there's all these smart people, and they're crazy. It's like, okay, stretching reality a bit, but it's supposed to be goofy. It's supposed to be a bit over the top with this guy who just kills, like, I think millions. I can't remember what the kill count is, but a whole religion goes around this guy, obviously, because if there's a guy who can kill anyone just by writing their name down, people would take notice, and years would go by, and there'd be a cult, and there'd be people like worshiping this dude, the god of death or whomever. So it's smart enough, but then it's really stupid in certain points, which is unfortunate.
Instead of seeing the story through the eyes of the hero, you are literally seeing the story through the eyes of the villain. I feel that these subversions make the stories more relatable through the feelings and thoughts of the characters, rather than just relatability based on the actions of the protagonists.
What does that mean? Aren't protagonist characters? Isn't that the same? What?
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. I just thought there's word salad here, but I couldn't parse it. It's late here.
Yeah, he's trying to say.
But villains. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's mixing up the villain with the protagonist. That these must be different things. No, the villain can be the protagonist. The protagonist is the one who pushes the story forward.
Yeah, we've had reverse detective stories.
It can be the asshole.
Yeah, I know. We've had this occurs all the time in movies, like decades ago. So it's not anything special. Why is it for kids?
The pro in protagonist does not mean the good one. It just means the one whom the story centers around and who pushes the story forward.
Yeah.
Like in Overlord, the Overlord is the protagonist, although he's the bad guy in a way, in a big way. I mean, he brings about genocide and shit. It's kind of bad.
Yeah, so there's lots of examples of this. I can go back to Columbo if we really want to talk about reverse detective stories being around, being a thing. But yeah, this is the anime version of that. So.
In 2019, are shonen stories still appealing? Well, many of the popular shonen titles of now, they've taken a lot from their predecessors, and they've created even more elaborate and well-constructed stories. The modern shonen series, My Hero Academia, has taken already established shonen tropes, like a weak protagonist, superpowers, and a tournament arc, delivering them in a story which feels refreshing. Many people have grown up with series that founded many of the tropes that My Hero Academia is now utilizing and refining.
I wouldn't say refreshing. I would just say it works because it's well done.
Yeah, this is how most, even with video games, we say, okay, here's another JRPG, here's another this or that, but the presentation is much more slick with Persona 5 than it is in Persona 4. So people like that more. It's more popular. Same with Final Fantasy 7. It's 3D. It has really good cutscenes compared to 6. It's like, you're right. It's on PlayStation.
It has Tifa.
It has Tifa, yeah.
Yeah, My Hero Academia stands out from the mark because it has a higher quality of writing, and in the case of the anime, animation of the whole thing. Doesn't mean it's to everyone's taste, but within this realm of stuff, it is one of the better ones, because we must never forget Sturgeon's law: 90% of everything is shit. That goes for shonen manga, that goes for metal, that goes for magical girls, that goes for the MCU. That goes for fast food.
What was the other? What was that? Was the same writer or author who did One Punch Man? Did Psycho something?
I don't know. I'm behind on watching stuff. Psycho Mob?
Was it Psycho Mob?
I don't know. It's just the first name that comes to mind.
Psycho Mob 100. Yeah. The guy who did.
From what I've seen, there's vibes, but I would have to look it up.
Yeah. I always thought that was more interesting than My Hero Academia, but I never watched both series anyway. I just sort of got the idea. Anyway.
Character in My Hero Academia has a unique
or a superpower.
The characters utilize their powers to overcome whatever obstacle is in their way. No two characters will have the same approach to a situation, as their powers are completely different. My Hero Academia has an extended cast of characters. And each character
no. You made a does that fit into post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy? Just because they have they don't have different approaches to problems because they have different powers. That is your fallacy. That is just the author using that, because we could have tons of characters that all have different powers, which is the bit of slightly creative part, but the author can be so incompetent that still everybody has basically the same personality and goes about problem solving the same way, because that author is incapable of thinking out how somebody else could think differently, which is a sign of emotional immaturity or tons of stress. But just them having different powers doesn't automatically mean they go about solving things differently.
Right. Like look at Naruto with was it Shikamaru when they're fighting in the tournament thing? He's a really smart dude. He's good at strategy, but his ability, his main ninja ability is to manipulate shadows. And he could have manipulated wind. It didn't really matter. He would still have his own strategy that's smart and sophisticated, as opposed to a certain tactic. Like we're talking about the Hero Academia people having all different powers. Yeah, they'll use it tactically, but are they smart enough how to fight? Do they know how to move? Yeah. So this is where we get into the nuance of what makes the main character so good. He's not just pure potential of just fighting and struggling and training. He's smart about it. He's learning how to use his skills, and it's more than just tactics. So
yeah, that's the one good thing about the show, that it, you could say, teaches the audience, is by making a point out of, hey, you're students here, you have some weird skill that maybe you think is useless, that maybe you think you can't save anyone with, but try to play around with it, be creative, use it in ways you didn't think of before, and apply it that way, and you will find out ways on how to do more with it. It's like it's it's basically a call to reflect upon yourself and to develop more abilities with the things you've been given, the tools you have, to use your tools more creatively. And that is a wonderful message. And that is how these students actually develop into something bigger. That's how one of the students even learns to fly. He reapplies his power into a power of flight, which before he couldn't even think of. That's great. That's development, and I'd say that is how this does the shonen power progression better, because it's not just shooting energy beams around more creatively. I think that's the interesting part, and that thinking that through, how to apply those things in more ways, that reflects back on the personality and character of the characters involved, and that he here in the video may be mistaking for what he said.
Yeah, this could just be the author having a character that has this skill and saying, okay, I'm going to think of it this way, but you could make this an adult story, and it could be how to kill someone, or he does actually kill someone in a very creative, mysterious way. So that would not be for shonen, but it could be. There's stuff like that. So
if it helps you to be more to say this a bit more clearly, you have a guy who throws around ice, you have a guy who throws around fire, you have a guy who throws around both, you have a guy who makes explosions in his hands, you have a girl who can produce things from her body. Now, it's a girl who throws around, who makes stuff from her body, is creative, is creatively applied as it should be, but if this was written in a dumb fashion, all that she would do would create projectiles from her body that she shoots out from her body. That would be doing it like everyone else, just basically with a different visual effect. And this is why I think he's making a fallacy here. He's falling for a fallacy.
Not just background padding. A mistake that Dragon Ball Z makes when the main cast of characters begin escalating in power, which leaves no real purpose for characters who are still weak, like Piccolo fusing with Kami so that he is on par with Super Saiyan. He becomes background padding, like Krillin and Tien when it comes to the Majin Buu saga. I've yet to see this happen in My Hero Academia, and in all honesty I don't see this happening in a series like this. Having seen many shonen series and now experiencing My Hero Academia...
That's because the series has set up its final villain with its initial hero who has to pass the torch. That's so far a close story that we can see as a close story before the end. And assuming that we're dealing with manga, it is more likely that the story will end then once that villain is properly defeated, not just at the halfway point. Because there's more to it. It's not just that the person has to be defeated, but the concept of the person. And we'll see how that goes. I would assume that that My Hero Academia ends after that. It's just that Dragon Ball is the thing that keeps on going on, and that was against Toriyama's wishes. Because he didn't know what to do with it anymore.
Yeah, it's nice to have stories that end purposely, as opposed to, hey, this will make us more episodes and more money. It's like, oh, okay. Or you could do something new. So, yeah. Entertainment. Fun stuff.
Personal love for the series stems from the character of All Might. All Might is the manly Kenshiro-esque Goku shonen hero. Through watching All Might, you see what it is to be a perfect ideal shonen hero, so similar to the countless examples that you've seen in so many previous series. It's really hard not to love All Might, and it is exactly that reason that it hurts so much when you realize that All Might has limitations, and there is a price that he has to pay for his heroic actions. The protagonist of the series, Deku, is born without any powers. He really doesn't even have a chance to pursue his own dream. However, this changes when All Might begins to help Deku, and shares the secret of his own quirk with him. And this is when the story of My Hero Academia gets captivating. You learn about the successor of the power of One for All and how it's passed on from user to user. We know that All Might cannot continue to save the world, so our protagonist Deku must prove himself. With the burden of being All Might's successor, Deku must learn to channel the...
I swear he looks like the Tick. Just the blonde version of the Tick with those antennae for hair.
Yeah.
powers of One for All, so that he can continue the legacy of All Might. My attachment with this show is primarily through the relationships that the characters have. All Might, who is mentoring Deku, Bakugo as a rival to Deku, or even Todoroki and his relationship with his father, Endeavor. The rivalry between Deku and Bakugo is done so refreshingly. Bakugo also respects and admires All Might, pursuing his dream to become a hero like All Might in a completely different way than Deku. He does this through aggression, brashness, hot-headed temper, as opposed to Deku, who is calm and very level-headed, but he is also anxious and apprehensive before decisively taking action. My Hero Academia is an example of a modern battle shonen, which has evolved and improved upon well-established tropes. Series like The Promised Neverland, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Dr. Stone, and Black Clover are now being published in Jump magazine. With the exception of Black Clover, most of these stories don't rely on strength and battles and transformations alone. The newly published works in Jump symbolize a change to content that shonen readers and viewers are now enjoying. There is a shift that is taking place, a change which is ultimately leading to a new age of shonen storytelling. There can be a misconception that shonen is a genre, but instead it is a demographic.
So if it's not a genre, why are you giving us tropes of the genre and saying this is... See,
why did you for 20 minutes talk about it as if?
Yeah, we were arguing, well, it's probably more of a demographic because that's what they sell towards that people. That's why it's called shonen, young man or young boy. Yeah, this is dumb. This is a dumb video. It's like us talking about JRPGs and saying, well, back in the 80s we had Dragon Quest and blah, 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 blah. Nowadays we have... Persona 5, which is a simulator about going to school, and you're like, but it's still a JRPG, right? Well, not really. Mm-hmm. And you're like,
what? Only thing he said previously, Ego Dreamer pointed out something very, very profound, I would say, and something that is obvious, especially when it's pointed out, is power scaling is a trap. Like we've seen that a lot in the sometimes bland writing in Dragon Ball. A good writer must avoid that, yes, or create scenarios that solves that problem creatively. And this is where One Punch Man comes in. Because Saitama basically starts at the power scaling trap. He's already at the conclusion. Bam. And that is solved creatively. That's the whole that is the whole show. Or the whole manga, or the whole webcomic. That's why it's great. It plays with the trap. But yeah, that's just that part.
Yeah, it's great because all the characters in One Punch Man have different power levels, and they have the same day-to-day problems. But with Kamen Rider, he's just a guy. He can't do much. But then you have Genos, who's way up there. So it doesn't matter what the power level of all the scenarios are. They're equal to, not equal, but they're a conflict for each of those characters to deal with.
Yeah, Kamen Rider would be the equivalent to Midoriya in My Hero Academia. Just that he never got powers, but he has the drive.
Right. He's got the heart of a hero.
Yes, which is way more important, as you can see with King. He's not a hero.
King is great.
He has just bad RNG in his life.
Yeah, it's the typical bad luck scenario, and for whatever reason he made a life out of that. And you could put that in any story. The bad luck dude who's just along for the ride.
And he basically has imposter syndrome. While he is an actual imposter, he just doesn't want to be an imposter. The problem is, if he ever comes clean about that, he will be instantly targeted. So he has to keep playing the imposter. very, very carefully. Horrible, absolutely tragic thing he's inside. He's basically the reflection of Saitama.
He just wants to play video games. He wants to be left alone and have a quiet life.
Yeah, and this is the great thing. He's actually better at video games than Saitama, so he can beat Saitama at something.
Yeah.
It's great. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Now, back to the current part of the video. Why did you try to tell us about the genre that is shonen if by the end you tell us that shonen is not a genre? And we'd criticized how you went about setting this whole thing up because the definition is wonky.
If you're gonna,
if your definition is wonky like that, you can come to the conclusion that it's not actually a genre.
Yeah. So what we should have done is he planned this out. He didn't make anything yet. He actually came to the conclusion, hey, it's both a genre and it's a demographic. And then he takes those two ideas and sees, okay, can I connect the dots here? Is there a list? Is there a criteria that is somehow shared between the two? Maybe there's a level of intelligence or maturity found on the average 13-year-old kid from Japan that appreciates something like One Punch Man, or maybe it's for 15-year-olds. And look at the demographics. Actually give us some numbers and say, this is who watches My Hero Academia. And then go into maybe why that is. And say, this is why it works in Shonen Jump. And this is why it sells. And why I don't think One Punch Man's in Shonen Jump, is it? Was it ever in Shonen Jump? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it would be a very unique thing if it was. I don't think it ever was. But it's become its own phenomenon that it's outside the boundaries of kids. It's for everyone. It's one of those stories that anyone can look at or watch and relate to it.
I would put it as the clearest, most distilled version of hero's journey stories for young people.
Okay.
They're all very clear in their structure of set out to journey, have problem to overcome, struggle, beat problem.
Yeah, and they should end, but they don't. They just keep going.
But so no. Most do end. Like most stuff in Japan, thankfully, is only a season or two.
Yeah, but Naruto just kept going.
We don't. Bleach. Yeah. These are outliers. Naruto, One Piece, those are outliers.
Yeah, One Piece,
Dragon Ball.
Luckily, people still enjoy it because it's just fun. Naruto is like, okay, that's done. Get rid of that.
Yeah, that's because the author of One Piece still has stuff to tell.
Yeah.
He still knows what he wants to do.
It's still
when the author runs out of that and is just forced by the publisher to make more, then it turns to shit.
Like you could tell with Bleach, and this was like early 2000s, not maybe early, maybe 2003, 2004. You could tell that Bleach was like, okay, this is running out of steam, and the mangaka was not doing much, wasn't that unique. There's a whole history behind Bleach that I watched on YouTube about why it was bland and why it died. I don't know why it's coming back, though. I have no clue how that worked. But this guy is covering it on his channel, so if you want to watch that, check it out.
Yeah. For a maybe a bit underrated or more unknown, maybe the better term, anime that roughly goes in this vein. If I can remember the name off the top of my head, something with N. Damn it, what was it? We just talked about it the other day. It had to do with naming things. Damn it. I want to give a recommendation and I can't remember the name. What did you say?
An anime?
Yeah, an anime.
Oh, is it new or old?
A few years now, I think.
Oh. About names?
About spirits that you name and of the dead that you name and they become weapons, but actual weapons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh God, what was the fucking name of that anime?
I do know the slime isekai is about...
No. It was a more serious one.
Okay.
It was a more serious one. And it was not an isekai.
I know what you're talking about. Was he a death god or something like that? A god?
No.
No? All right, maybe not.
Something with N.
All right, we'll ask chat later in the Discord if we could figure that out.
Yes! Noragami.
Yeah, he's a god. He's got that sword that's a little boy. He wants a name or something like that.
Yeah, Noragami. Yes. Drunken Mumble has it right. Watch that anime. It's and I hope you enjoyed. I found it well done.
About money. You need money if you're a god. Don't have money, you're a cheap god. You get no powers. Anyway, 2 minutes left. We're almost done.
Mm-hmm.
A series from several different genres catered to a specific target demographic. The strengths of shonen anime and manga are no longer just about telling a good battle or adventure story, but it is the ability of the modern shonen to portray intellectual, captivating stories, which breathe fresh life into shonen storytelling. This is what I feel the new age of shonen is all about. Having stood the test of time, shonen stories are developing and improving upon many different tropes, which have been successfully utilized for the last 50 years. Audiences who have followed these types of series will have an attachment to them and feel the burning youthful spirit that they bring out of you. The appeal of shonen series, in my opinion, is a combination of relatability and a story which is genuinely intriguing. It is characters with depth and mystery, like Urahara, Shanks, Jiraiya, and Minato, the fourth Hokage. They are all well-written characters, which have always brought me back to their respective series. Shonen stories represent the underdog within each of us. They help us to believe that when the odds are stacked against you, and victory seems impossible, with friendship and hard work, any obstacle can be overcome. Seeing goofy protagonists who are happy-go-lucky, reduced to tears, and made to endure hardship, following them overcoming their hardships is what made me follow so many shonen series. Many people go to these types of shows as a form of escapism, to get away from their daily lives, and their own personal struggles. From experience, these shows have taught us how to deal with hardships when we are knocked down and feel like we cannot get up, when the task at hand seems impossible, and no matter how many hours you have spent at it, nothing seems to change. When you are bullied and have nobody to turn to, the loneliness that settles in, and it becomes so unbearable that it reminds you of the struggle of the shonen protagonist when they are faced up against Aizen, Madara, or Frieza. And despite how hopeless the situation seemed, that protagonist was always able to...
Yes, that is true. The problem is where it's hard to translate into real life is that most of our struggles are not physically beating someone up. That is something that's useful for maybe some tournament, some real life tournament. The problem is to translate that struggle against someone who's physically stronger than you into a psychological struggle to overcome, where your enemy is, or really not just someone who's hard to win against, but someone who is actually malicious towards you, and to fight that without relying to physical violence, because that's kind of against the law. So we tend to be kind of stuck while we're down.
Well, we don't watch these shows because they're relatable in a literal human real setting or scenario. They're likable and relatable because we understand what the characters are going through, and what they're going through makes some sense in a fantasy ninja magic world or whatever.
Yes, they refuse to be broken, and that is the important message. That works in either and that works in either context. But the thing is, for your real life problems, quite often you may need more than just lifting yourself back up. You may need the actual help from
but
friends.
The reason why it's for kids is it starts off in a setting which is fun and goofy and colorful, like a bunch of ninjas who are kids who can summon giant toads and fight giant snakes. That's kind of cool, and they jump around in forests.
Yeah,
that's fun. And then you have a serious tone of rivalry or family to motivate the characters to do something. So that's fine.
Yeah, the core is always, even if you hit the ground, do not stay down. Do get back up.
All right. Anyway, we got 30 seconds. Let's go.
Puff up their chest and face their hardship. When you ask me what inspires me, I will always tell you about the story of the shonen protagonist, from weakness to immeasurable strength. May shonen stories continue to inspire many generations to come, so that they too can overcome their adversities and face the world with an unbreakable smile.
That was discombobulated. That was all over. That was like, what are you doing, sir?
That's the right word.
Yeah.
You found the right word, yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I think if he thought more about what he's talking about, he might make good stuff.
Yeah, this was like 2 days away from an actual good video where he thought it's like, hey, I gotta think about this one more time and rethink my hypothesis, and then start a new one, and then go to that logical conclusion, and then make a video.
Mm-hmm. This feels more like a first draft.
Yeah, no, none of these people have friends that they, what do you think of this? Like they just do it off the top of their heads. Like, guys, don't do that.
Maybe they have yes man friends or nice weather friends that they go drinking with, but are basically useless.
Here we go. Useless drinking friends. Oh, that's not nice. Every shonen protagonist ever. Remember Tanjiro? Dying is gay. Oh. All right.
Oh, memes?
Yeah, we're on memes now. Cool. Yeah. Nice anime protagonist there. I am compared to Naruto.
I like that one.
Smallest of things. Yeah. Byakugan. Oh.
Byakugan.
That's...
Oh no! Oh god. This. Put this on some image board.
Tone, she's actually 900 years old in the story. Shut up. Okay, so we go from... Okay, this is what happens with... Yeah, we talked about this a year ago at least. How they changed the stuff.
Wait, the sandwich edit is not real. Come on.
Yeah, that's good.
They didn't just put a picture of a sandwich in there. I mean, I could believe it, but bloody hell.
Angry German Nazi Otaku Room Tour 2017. Wow.
Yeah, there's a new guy who's black who's doing the same thing.
Okay.
It's great.
Peg you. I've got you pegged as an absolute fucking loser. Okay. Press what? Couldn't read that.
Press F to pay respect.
I couldn't quite read. It's too quick.
Ah, that's what this was to my QTE example talk.
Oh. This was an actual QTE dialogue in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The joke wrote itself. Press A to pound? In a Pokemon game. All right. Woman. Okay. Mr. Elastic Man in the background. Naruto is obviously the best fictional character of all time. Whoa. Deku is a great shonen protagonist. Wait, what do you mean? This isn't the Deku people are talking about.
It's always what I think of when I watched My Hero Academia. Why that name?
Friendship ended with My Hero Academia. Now Black Clover is my best friend. What? Guys, look what I got in the mail. The guy sent me Misprints card for $2. It's worth more than that. Okay. Cool. Very cool. Always nice to find treasure.
Mm-hmm.
This was real. I'm actually serious. Holy hell. They thought that the American kids can't understand rice balls. Maybe at the time, but
no bullshit. You just show, here's a different food, and they always eat. This
yeah. If they said rice ball, then it would make sense. But I don't think kids saw triangular shaped rice with nori or whatever that is.
Why do you people on the American continent all think that kids are retarded? They're just kids. You just explain, this is a rice ball. Hey, let's make rice balls. You like Pokemon? Okay, you want to eat the stuff that they always eat on the Pokemon show? Let's make that.
Yeah.
It's also very cheap.
Rice is very cheap. This is true. Not if you're doing sushi, though, but yeah. All right. That was well done. He put a lot of effort into it. I appreciate that. Weird music choices. That was just like, synthwave to Japanese stuff. I don't know what that was. Probably anime stuff as well.
But I try to keep the atmosphere.
Yeah, what was the snowflakes or whatever the heck that was?
Those were annoying because there was one of them that ended right in the front of the screen and made the screen flash. That annoyed the hell out of me.
I didn't like the intro where all those crazy tears on the screen and the words being distorted. That was
you got a glimpse of what I'm going through.
Stop doing that. Just present your title and get on with it. Anyway. Well, thanks guys. That was over 2 hours. We did okay. Usually we reserve these videos for Mondays, but things happen and we get things out of order. So hey, that's how it goes. Anyway, as I was talking before in the video previously, anyone who has any game idea suggestions that you think are your favorites for whatever reason, go to I think it's the Smudcast channel, and there's a thread in there that you could download the Google Doc and make a copy of that, and then you list your whatever 5, 10, 20 games that you think are the best for whatever reason.
Notable and why.
Give us a reason why. Don't just say, I love Super Mario Brothers 3. It was fun. It's like, well, yes, it was. But tell me why. And I'm making a list. I'm going to be doing some voting with these lists, and then we're going to be making some videos off that. I'll add it to the website, and we'll get some good measurements done. We're not just going to say it's good because you guys said so. We're going to try and figure that out with a scoring system and with your votes as well. So it's going to take some time because I love these lists because it gives me an opportunity to see games I've never heard of and recommendations from people who really like Alan Wake. You got to play it, but they didn't give me a reason why.
Yeah. So. There's one thing, for example, for me that makes the game very notable is when something from a genre I completely ignore usually or don't even like racing games. I find a game that I actually enjoy a lot. For me, in the racing category, that was Diddy Kong Racing because it was a really well done fun racer.
I liked when it first came out on the Xbox, Project Gotham, because they did really slick looking cars, really nice cars too, but they had the cars on every part of the car where it could get banged up. You could bang up your car, and it looked pretty good. And I thought that was like, you don't want to hit the curb because you got this really slick looking Porsche, but it's like boom, you're like, oh, that's going to cost $2,000 to fix. So I liked that element of driving around a really fancy looking car. Anyway, thank you guys. Touch you soon. Keep sessions going, and have a great evening. Bye bye.
Yeah. Have a good night. Watch Noah.